One important aspect of buying a home using a VA loan is the VA appraisal process. The VA appraisal process is unique in that not only is the VA appraiser required to determine the value of the home, which is the same as any other appraisal, but they also have to make sure that the property meets the minimum property requirements of the VA. Now, the term most often used to describe those is safe, sound, and sanitary, or the 3 S's. So what I'm going to do today is we're going to walk around a home and I'm going to show you some of the aspects, the important aspects of safe, sound, and sanitary that an appraiser will be looking for. And as your agent, I'm going to be walking through for you. So let's take a look at a few of these. Outside the home, there are some very important aspects of safety to take a look at. We're going to switch the camera around here to take a look at the concrete. Now, most people will call this a driveway. In technical terms, it's considered flat work, but the flat work needs to be good and clean. Cracks are acceptable. In fact, sometimes even a little bit of subsiding is expected, especially in an older home. However, if the cracks have raised or lifted, or are considered a trip hazard, they've raised more than about 1/2 inch, then the appraiser may require that concrete be taken care of. A step up like this is pretty typical. That's expected. One question that comes up frequently is about handrails on the front steps. You notice this home has 2 steps and then the landing. You can have up 3 steps and a landing without being required to have a handrail. If there are 4 or more steps up, like many split entry homes or older homes have, then a handrail will be required. Also, across the front of the house, you'll notice that this has landscaping. The landscaping, regardless of what it is, if it's grass, dirt, flowers, flower bed, should be sloped away from the home. Any kind of negative grade that points toward the home that could lead to water pooling around the foundation is considered a concern on the exterior of the home. Also on the exterior of the home, the condition of the roof. The VA appraiser is going to have to take a look at the roof and determine if, in their professional opinion, if the roof has 5 to 7 years of life remaining in it, because they don't want a buyer buying into a home that's going to have a major repair. Now, sometimes that may involve getting some additional information from the seller regarding the age of the roof or when the last time it was that it was replaced or had any major maintenance done on it. That may be available through the property condition disclosures already. In fact, it should be if any work was done on it, so that information can be provided. Another common concern actually occurs right as we step in the house. This home has good, clean, white paint all the way around the trim, all the way to the ground. Any exposed woodwork around a door casing, around a garage door, around windows, any type of exposed wood that could be a risk for dry rot may be called out and may be required to be painted. Also, on older homes, any home built in 1978 or before, if there's any peeling or cracking paint that is exposed, that is considered a health risk because of the potential for the presence of lead-based paint. In that situation, all of the peeling paint would need to be scraped, cleaned up, and the exposed surface repainted in order to pass safe, sound, and sanitary requirements. Now, that most commonly occurs around door frames or around window frames. In the early 1970s, lead was added to paint as an emulsifier to keep it flexible in extreme weather conditions like ours, where it can heat up and then get cold and then heat up and get cold, and would keep it from cracking and splitting. Consequently, it was frequently used around door frames or around soffitting. Now, modern homes like this frequently have aluminum or tin soffits to avoid having that. But any exposed cracked or peeling paint from a home built in 1978 or before should be taken care of. In fact, again, it could be made a requirement by the appraiser. We're going to take a look at some of the aspects of the interior of the home now. One of the most commonly called out issues with a home is actually right in front of you. Or rather, it's not there, because there is a handrail on these stairs. Failure to have a handrail on stairs, again, more than 3 steps and a landing, is one of the most common reasons for a VA appraisal to require that there be a repair done to the home. The kitchen must be functioning and operational. It doesn't have to be modern. It doesn't even have to be pretty, but it has to be functioning and operational. Some very basic things have to be in place. A functioning stove. An overhead vent may not always be required. However, in this case, this is a gas stove, and current code requires an overhead vent. These are known as GFCI, or grounded plugs. These should be located anywhere there's a risk for water being spilled onto the plug. They're typically tied together, and a single one of these being tripped within the kitchen will turn all of the power off. The reset button here will be tested by an appraiser to make sure that that is working. A quick word about bathrooms. As with the kitchen, because water will be present, there needs to be GFCI outlets anywhere within 36 inches of water. Now, as odd as it may sound, I have seen occasionally where there's electrical by a tub. It absolutely should be GFCI. The type of tub really isn't going to matter, nor is it really going to matter whether or not it's a shower or a tub. However, you must have a fully functioning bathroom with at least a shower, a tub, and the necessary toilet. The condition of flooring comes up occasionally. Most of the time, the condition of the flooring in the home isn't much of an issue. As long as the carpet is well maintained, tile is not broken, wood flooring is in good condition. Color schemes, age, typically isn't a concern. However, transition places between 2 different types of flooring, in this case, wood and carpeting, may be an issue if that threshold piece is damaged, broken, or missing, because that can expose the tack strip for the carpet. Also, if there were exposed tack strips around the outer edge of the carpet, those would be considered safety concerns as they are an exposed safety hazard. Windows can also be a concern. Now again, this is a newer home, so our windows here are in good condition, but just a couple of things besides just paint to look at. The pane of glass in the window needs to be free of cracks or holes. Any cracked pane of glass, particularly if the pane has shifted, would need to be replaced. If it's a small crack and the pane has not been shifted, there are other means of repair. Window shades or window coverings are not typically considered safety concerns. However, from a buyer perspective, many new homes or newer homes or homes that have been updated have the window treatments that no longer have hanging cords. That's not a safety requirement for the VA, but it may be a buyer preference instead. Another quick look at the floor. This may seem elementary, but it could come up. Yep, heat vents. They need to be in good, clean working order, and they need to be in place. Broken heat vents or heat vents that are missing are considered a safety issue and may come up on a report. Okay, a quick word about unfinished spaces or spaces that a buyer may be considering remodeling once they purchase a home with the VA. Unfinished spaces are absolutely allowed and acceptable. In fact, they're a great way to provide a means of the home buyer adding some equity to the home over time. Just some reminders about a few things that would be looked for in this type of setting. Any type of exposed electrical box, such as these overhead lights, must have covers on them. In fact, all exposed electrical boxes, even something as simple as an electrical box or a light switch, must have covers on them. It's a 50-cent issue that could become a $100 headache having to have those repaired. You need to have an operating furnace, and any room that's considered a bedroom must be attached to the furnace. The type of air conditioning unit, whether swamp cooler or AC, is entirely optional. And then obviously a water heater, the type and style, up to the individual home, but they must be functioning and set at a safe temperature. You notice this one is set at 120 degrees. Water softeners are not required. However, in our environment around here in Utah, it is a recommendation. Now, having mentioned the boxes, you notice that this one has a different color, blue. Even boxes for something like your Cat 5 cable here, your internet cable, have to have covers on them, so there's no way for small fingers to reach in and get tangled up inside of the box. Just a quick curveball. Nope, that is not considered a safety hazard right there. That's what a rough plumbed bathroom would look like. That's the stem for a sink, a toilet in the middle, and then on the far end would be where a shower drain or tub drain would be put in. Those aren't considered safety hazards because they're deliberately put there for future use. However, a homeowner may want to make sure that in the time before they complete this, that they make sure that that is covered up or in some way kept from being a trip hazard. Basement windows occasionally come up as a question. Now this is a new home, so it has a size of window. Current code, modern building code, requires that for a bedroom space to be considered bedroom space, it has to have its own form of egress or a way out of the house besides its own door, interior door. And that space must be large enough for a firefighter in full gear to be able to come through the window in order to rescue anyone inside. That also requires some type of stairs or some means of assisting someone in the basement to get out of the basement. So what do you do if you have a home like mine that was built 60 years ago when the windows were tiny? Those are still acceptable. That was code at the time of construction. However, if the windows are obstructed or covered or in some way blocked in a way that cannot be accessed, then it may become an issue. An inspector would point it out first, obviously. It's up to an appraiser whether or not they make a concern of it. You'll notice this one does have safety covers, and those covers can be lifted up from above. One other issue with window wells to be aware of is to make sure that they also have a means of draining away from the window, that they're not built up or not debris hasn't built up inside of them to a level that would allow water or snow to be present at the level of the window frame and allow moisture to come into the basement. As your real estate agent, I specialize in working with VA buyers and have walked through many homes with VA buyers. My job is to help you find the right home that you find to be the place that you want to be. That the rooms are the right size, the home's in the right neighborhood. It marks off all those boxes. So as I walk through a home with buyers, I let them know that they're there to make sure the home fits their needs and what they're looking for. I'm going to be there to help look for those small details that we want to take care of early in the buying process, before an appraiser comes out to the home, in order to make sure that we don't have any delays. You see, once the appraiser has walked through the home and done the site visit, the appraiser has to turn in their report regarding the value of the home and the condition of the home. And this is not the same report that an inspector will provide. This is the report that determines whether or not the VA loan will be approved, that the home meets the minimum standards of safe, sound, and sanitary. If there are any repair requirements in that report, those repairs must be completed before the appraisal is considered completed and the file can go in for final underwriting. In other words, the loan is on hold until those repairs are completed. And once the repairs are completed, the appraiser will have to make another site visit, which, by the way, has to be paid for, along with the original cost of the appraisal. So my job is to make sure that those concerns get taken care of before the appraiser gets there. And we'll do everything I can to anticipate any concerns that may come up, as from the top to the bottom of the house, inside, outside, to make sure that the home truly meets your needs, truly has the value it does, and meets those requirements. If you have any more questions, let me know. One final thought. There's a difference between a VA appraisal and a home inspection. A home inspection is performed by a professional inspector and looks at the physical condition of the home, top to bottom, inside and out, and can include additional inspections for things like the potential presence of mold spores in the air, meth use, contamination, and radon gas. That's a single simple report that belongs to the buyer and is paid for by the buyer when they pay for an inspector. An appraisal is for the value of the home and has those requirements that I just discussed. One unique aspect of VA that on the inspection side is that the VA also requires the presence of a specialized report known as the Wood Destroying Insects Report, or commonly known as the termite report, where an inspector has to inspect the woodwork of the home in order to verify that there are not wood-destroying insects in the home. Now, around here, termites are rare. They do exist. They were inadvertently brought in with the import of lumber. Wood ants, however, are more common and are common in old wood sheds in the backyard. Any part of the home has to be inspected, including detached garages and detached sheds. And that's the most common place to find the potential for wood-destroying insects. So as a buyer's agent, I'm going to look at those areas in advance to see if there's any potential concern, but the report itself has to be completed by a professional.